Welcome to the Fearless Happiness Podcast, where we showcase phenomenal individuals who have overcome serious traumas, life obstacles, and challenges to find their own path to fearless happiness. Listen as Max Njist invites guests from all around the world to share their experiences and spread strength, hope, and faith. This is the Fearless Happiness Podcast, and this is Max Njist.
All right, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this world. This is Max from the Fearless Happiness Podcast. And again, I'm coming back with a special and amazing guest, Zoe Karli. But what I like to do, Zoe, is have you introduce yourself to the audience, who you are, what it is you do, and then you and I are going to rock and roll, as I say.
All right. Well, Max, thank you. I'm honored to be here. My name is Zoe Karli, and I do a lot of things. So I think the best way is grew up an adventurous kid. I'm prior military and from a military family. So needless to say, I didn't live in one spot for longer than 3 years until I was married. So it was a long college, military, got out, got into business, experienced some seizures, got through that, got back to the grind and to work. I'm very fortunate. I get to work alongside my husband. He owns a biotech company. I run it. He's still a practicing physician. So he's a clinician, researcher, genius. So I'm very blessed to be his partner. And yeah, we have a kiddo, and he's bigger than me and almost as tall as his dad, plays hockey. And I just try to be the very best daughter, sister. I'm a stepmom and wife. So there you have it, start to finish.
I love it. We got a lot of things in common. I'm a stepdad. So but first and foremost, thank you for your family service. Thank you for your service and just whatever, all the things you've gone through, because we know military life is not fun, especially growing up, because right when you make friends, it's up, time to go, right? Like my daughter-in-law is in that, she got a promotion and now it's like, well, August, you need to be in Colorado, right? Because she's a career Air Force. So, I see it on the look of my grandson's face when, it's time to move. He's like, but I really like it here. I got all my friends, but this is going to be awesome. So let's dive in. So let's go back and talk about some of those challenges you've gone through, Zoe, to bring you to where you are and those things that have shaped you and made you who you are.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's a really good point that you made about your daughter. Well, first, I want to say it was interesting. I remember flying, this was like 10 years ago, and I was talking to the gentleman that was next to me, and he said, you know what? We don't believe in steps in our family. And I was like, oh, okay. Why? Tell me about it. He said, there is no step parent. There's a bonus parent. And especially when there is someone that's so invested in somebody's life that you're not a step anything. You're not replacing, but it's not like you're stepping in. You're truly in parallel to that kiddo, that family's life. And especially if you take it on as such. So I'm the bonus mom. And, but now to go back to what you said about kiddos growing up in military service, I think there's two ways to look at it. And I was very fortunate to be on the side that I feel like I was on, which is we weren't really allowed to complain. We were taught to look at it as an adventure. There's so many people that are born and raised in one tiny little place. They go to college that's like 2 hours away and they come back home, and that's all they really know. I read a statistic somewhere where it was something like 92% of our population has never been outside of their state. And I'm like, there's no way that's accurate. There's no way. But I've been to 44 states, and not just like fly over them, touchdown, land in the airport and take off, but 44 states. So when we grew up, that was something that my parents were very dedicated to was, hey, look, we lived in Florida. Now we're moving to Colorado. Now you get to go to Wyoming. Now you get to go to Utah. We can drive there. You can go see all these different places, different kinds of people, different kinds of cities, different atmospheres. And one of the things that just got instilled in me naturally being in the military was those are not challenges. Those are opportunities. And so that was what growing up, that's all that I knew. I didn't know anything. Time to go. We're going to move. And so I made friends all over and got to meet different cultures and got invested in different kinds of sports and things like that. And I will say it probably was harder for an athlete to be in that position, but you make do. So you go to the next sports team and you go try out, and that's that. I was a pretty good athlete, so I was very fortunate that way. So that is, I think, one of that led me into how I kind of live my life, which is, yes, there's challenges, of course, but with every challenge, it's sort of like, do you drink lemons or do you drink lemonade? So you have to make a challenge is what you make out of it. And growing up that way, and I just apply that to life, as I have gone through some pretty serious struggles in life, and gone through the pity party, and then just picked myself up off the floor and said, what, crying isn't going to do anything for either of us, and the pity, woe is me, isn't going to do anything for me either, because nobody's coming to rescue me from my pity. So anyway, it was a huge influence being taught how to do that early on.
And that brings a good point. That's awesome on your parents' part, right? Because like you said, those weren't challenges, those were adventures, right? And like someone told me, like, there's no such thing as failures, right? What they are is opportunities to grow.
Yep.
And so
Yeah.
right, and it made me think about all the times I sat in my pity party, right? And no one came to rescue me. But when I finally figured out what did I learn from it and grow from it, how much better life looks, instead of like, the cup's half full or half empty, my cup runneth over, because in your case, you got to see 44 different states, and not very many people get to say that, which is awesome, right? Because, and that was one of the reasons, part of the reasons I joined the military when I went to the Navy, right? Because back in the 80s, Top Gun came out. First, I thought I was going to be a pilot, right? But that didn't happen. But they had those commercials that it would say, the Navy's not just a job, it's an adventure, right? And I was so ready to get out of California and see the world, right? And do something different. But I get stationed 20 minutes from my house, so I was so disappointed. You know what I mean? I got to go to San Francisco for school. I came home for Long Beach, and I was like, but right, I agree with you. Like, I don't like to say struggles, right? Because but challenges, I think when I say that, it makes people think, ooh, what did she go through? Like, I want to hear some of these things that she's gone through, that she can maybe teach me how to get through the ones I'm going through at the moment. Yeah. So, going through some of those, opportunities, I say, to grow, right, and learn. Like, what were some of the more difficult ones that have helped shape who you are, right? That someone in the audience might go, wow, I needed to hear that, because now I don't feel so alone.
Yeah. Well, forgive me. Every once in a while I cry talking about it. But so as the resume states, I'm a self-starter and I'm super independent. And I was that kid, and I have siblings on both sides of me. So I'm the oldest and the youngest at the same time. Most people say, huh? I'm my mother's youngest and I'm my father's oldest. So I come from a bonus family as well. And no one had to occupy me as a kid. I just quickly read the room and said, okay, I'm bored. And I would go occupy myself, even though I had siblings and neighborhood kids and things like that. So I always grew up as solve the problem, work the problem, solve the problem, don't complain, fix things. I mean, it just was, when stuff needed to be done around the house, we were expected to contribute. So it's always been ingrained in me. And I think, so I got out of the military, I started working in sales. I worked for a pharmaceutical company, and then I moved into a medical device company. Then I was fortunate, I got to work with two of my best girlfriends, and we built a small little distributorship. And then I've worked in direct sales. So I've had lots of teams and tried to teach them systems on how to be able to grow or apply systems so that things are organized. And as you're growing, it's not it's not chaos. Right. And then did a great job. I was, in my opinion, I was very successful. I made a lot and was young. And then all of a sudden, I was about 29. I had a grand mal seizure. And for anybody, or tonic-clonic seizure. So if anybody doesn't know what that is, I mean, I'm out for the count. So I'm not just sort of in a dazed state, which is also part of a seizure, but like if I'm sitting upright and I have a seizure, I fall on the floor. And so I went through a series of them and no one could really figure out why. I don't have a familiar history. I'm super healthy. Like I even asked my doctor, I mean, my diet is super strict. I lift weights, I run, I do everything that I can. And when I was seeing this neuro specialist, I said, did I do something wrong? And he said, no. So we did the brain scans and we did the sleep studies and we did all different kinds of things. And there's a little tumor that's behind my right eye, but it's in my temporal lobe, and temporal lobe lesions, anything like that doesn't typically cause especially grand mal seizures. So everyone was kind of like, yeah, okay, we're going to watch it. So for a period of time, 2 brain scans a year. And then after 4 scans, it didn't change, it didn't move, it didn't shift, it didn't grow, it didn't shrink, it didn't anything. Then I had to do it for once a year. Now I don't have to do it anymore because it didn't change, it didn't grow, it didn't shrink, it didn't move, it didn't anything. I suspect that, actually, I know if we scanned everyone would have lesions and little tumors or little spots or little anything, just because it's the body. So you do. So ultimately, and it's controversial. People don't like it when I say it, but ultimately for a long time. So that was my early 30s. I'm 41, turning 42. No one knew what was wrong with me. Hormones, checked them. Sleep study. Nope, didn't have any kind of negative effect to light or any of that kind of stuff. I did the light studies, I did the sleep studies. I go in and out of REM, fine. So no one really knew. The first medication I went on, I wasn't controlled, and it's an excellent medication for seizures. By the way, I had gone to like 3 very well-known specialists all across the United States to try to figure out what the heck was going on. So wasn't getting controlled. And at the time I was seeing, he's one of the best pediatric neurologists for seizures and epilepsy. And he said, bring your medication in. So I bring my medication in and he pours it out. And he says, have you been taking your medicine? And I said, okay, admittedly, in the beginning, I was in denial, so I wasn't. However, now, yes, I am religiously, as I'm supposed to, as you prescribed. And he poured them out and he showed them to me and he said, these are generic. And I wrote for branded prescription for you. So we went down the whole road of pharmacy didn't like me very much because they decided to fill the medication against what the physician had written for. So I went down that whole battle. But interestingly, I am one of those I fall into a very small percentage of people that don't respond to that generic medication. So the way generics work is they do not have to be 100% of the formulary of that exact medication. Hence why there's a patent for 10 years on branded medication when it comes out. Well, it's not the exact same after the patent goes away and you can start making generic. So that little teeny difference in product to product to product that is classified as generic affected me and wouldn't control my seizures. As soon as I went on the branded medication for the extended release, my seizures stopped. So they were completely controlled. So I've been controlled for 9, 10 and a half years, something like that. So, but here are the challenges. So here's the adventure. You can't drive a car. You can't drive a car for a year. You don't get your license back. You have to go seizure free for an entire year. Now, mind you, I had already had seizures for about 6, 7, 8 months and they weren't controlled. So I was already not driving for that period of time. Got controlled, had to wait for a year. Mind you, I'm not 12, I'm not 14. I'm a working independent woman, job, all of that stuff. So my family was exceptional. They helped us anywhere and anytime I needed a ride or anything. And I was living in DC at the time, so there was metro stuff. My dad wanted me to move back home. My mom was deployed to Djibouti. So, and my little brothers were gone. So it was just my dad and I, an adventure. I got to reconnect with my father, whom is, outside of my husband, he's my next best friend and especially the other man in my life. And so I was grateful for that period of time. It was good for us. Um, I was very fortunate. I had a lot of passive revenue, kind of working behind the scenes. Like I said, I had some experience with direct sales. I had built a small distributorship. So there was a lot of things that would just produce revenue. So I'm extremely fortunate for that, but I couldn't really work. So it was a challenge. I had to learn a lot about myself and learn real fast. So I kept before I got, because remember, there was a period of time where I wasn't controlled yet. So that's when I had moved back to be with my dad. So I had a seizure, and then I remember getting a medical bill, and it was some like radiology report or whatever. And it was like $3,200. And I just remember opening that bill and looking at it and sliding down and sitting on the floor and started crying because I'm looking at this and here's my pity party. Why me? And I remember saying that, and I said it several times, which never really sounded like me. I don't think I'd ever said those words before. And I just looked at my dad, and my dad said, you have to carry this. There's some reason that this was given to you, and there's something at the end of this road, and you're going to go down this journey, and you're going to figure out what it is. So, and of course, you don't want to hear that when you're in your
Right.
poopy and crying, and you're like, oh, I don't care about that right now. But then I just woke up and I said, you know what? Nobody came rescuing me. Nobody made my seizures go away. The world's not going to stop just because I have this. And then I looked at it and said, okay, you know what? I'm really fortunate. I wasn't in a horrible car accident where I could have killed myself. I could have killed somebody else. I could have been a vegetable laying in the hospital. What's going on right now? We're going to work through the challenge and we're going to get to the end. So now fast forward, I got controlled and I got back to my life and driving and working and growing a business and things like that. So all I can tell people is that there is no magic checklist to get out of your own way. It is merely a choice. Decide whether you're going to be an ally to yourself or an enemy to yourself. And I prefer to be an ally to myself. And I never want to prove someone wrong. I always want to prove myself right. So I have always been, even with my husband, he's an exceptional man, physician, researcher, genius, built a company, still practicing. People fly from all over the world to see him. He's a stem cell expert. He's pioneered the field. He's Harvard, 8 years, developed a big program there, got recruited by one of the world's largest orthopedic institutes that's done great things and built a biologic, so stem cell program over 20 years, presents book chapters, all that. The guy's genius. Me, I have serious work ethic and know how to grind. Those are my magical powers. But all I can say is it is merely a choice. And people try to make solutions so hard when oftentimes, as soon as it happens, you look back and think, wow, it was right there all the time. And so, like I said, you're either yourself's ally or you're an enemy, and it is a choice. And the more that you battle yourself and make excuses, get in your own way, delay things, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, so procrastination, those all work against you. But you have, the interesting thing is that you have control over every single one of those things. Every choice that you make, you made it, not somebody else. And that's what's always frustrated me about people going through a challenging process is stop making excuses. Okay, so something happened, and perhaps what initiated whatever happened was somebody's fault. But there was a choice that you made, which created a cascade of events.
Right.
Did you make a good choice or did you make a bad choice? How did you handle it? So that I think is probably, and maybe I needed a lesson. I don't know. I that's in the past now. And so it's something that I had to go through, and my dad is right. I had to carry something for some reason. A few years ago, and my husband always says, I can't even remember what he says because I turn off when he talks about it, but causation isn't something, I don't know, some doctor thing. So about 3 years ago, we have an exceptional physician, and she's very well known as well, longevity medicine expert. We were talking about my seizures, and she said, oh, you know what? So from the Children's Foundation, there were probably about 6 studies that were published in regards to the HPV vaccine, which, by the way, I've never even had the flu shot. I mean, I have my childhood vaccines, but I've never had anything else. And I don't know why, but in my late 20s, it was lot of OBGYNs, a lot of family practitioners, internists were pushing it on females to decrease the risk of cervical cancer or other attributes to that. Honestly, I don't know why I made the decision to get the vaccine, because I'm not sure. I can't even answer that, because that's not something I would usually do. So the studies showed that females in my age bracket that got the vaccine had a greater risk of having seizures. So there's nothing else that I can say, well, my sister had problems and a distant relative had problems. There isn't anything that could lead to, and trust me, I've taken every other kind of test that you could possibly try to define why is she having seizures. So at that moment, I remember thinking, wow, a decision I made put me into that position. But again, I remember thinking back to what my dad said was, you have to carry this for some reason. So I guess my own piece and the way that I look at it is, perhaps this is a story that I can tell other people to just show what decisions can do, and that we always need to make good decisions. Now, you're going to do the very best by your health, and that's your choice. But I just know from my perspective of something that I agreed to do, put this in my life. So, but remember too, couldn't fly planes, couldn't ride motorcycles, couldn't drive a car. I mean, people were just worried about me in general. One funny story is, my dad worked about 1.5 miles down the street, and usually I would go into work with him. This is when I was living with them. This is during that period of time where we were trying to get me controlled. And I had not yet switched to the new medication. And I remember I was like, Dad, I'm just going to stay home and work. I don't have much to do. Don't need to go into the office. So sure enough, that day I'm sitting at the bar stool and I have a seizure, and I fall out of the bar stool and I hit the hard floor, and I had basically busted open the side of my head. And now remember, I'm out for the count. So I'm literally laying in a pool of blood when I wake up. And I didn't really know what had happened. And so I'm kind of walking down the hallway. I call my best girlfriend, and she's like, Zoe, get off the phone with me and call 911. Why are you calling me? You're kind of out of it. I just crashed into the floor. So anyway, my dad comes blazing home and picks me up, go to the hospital. I'm still holding my head like this with some sort of compress or whatever. And so the doctor comes in, and I was like, just stitch it up. My arm is numb. I'm on this side, on this side. And then I'm like, and I'm in the car like this. So anyway, all's good. I get stitched up. I get 12 sutures. It's fine. My head gets wrapped up. And so I go out to check out, and the nurse, she was so cool. She says, girl, I love the color of your hair. What color is that? And I looked at her and I said, blood, my blood. Oh my God, I said, don't worry about it. It's funny. So that's the other thing that I've always tried to remain positive, truly, because if you're negative, it makes things worse. It makes you short-tempered. It makes you react instead of respond. You get caught in it. It's kind of like mud. It just sort of sucks you down, and you're trying to get out of it. And so I know it's easier said than done to be positive and to see the glass as half full, as you had mentioned earlier, and to look at the bright side of things. But we all get down. We all get on our own way. At some point, we've all been our worst enemy. But I guess a little trick that I always used to think of was, think of that one thing that you love. I don't care if it's ice cream or skydiving, whatever. It's something that you enjoy, that truly makes you happy. Think of that. Put yourself back in that time, place, moment, feeling, and use that to help you get out of your own way, to get you out of those negative thoughts. And a lot of times it helps clear the vision of, oh my gosh, this was bad, or no, I'm not going to make that decision, or I'm not going to take that promotion, or I'm not going to do that, whatever it might be. So and my husband and I have been not he and I, but going through some serious challenges with growth of company. And lots and being pulled in lots of different directions and good things happening. And you feel like you take one good step forward and then it's like 10 steps backward. And then you got to kind of turn and pivot and you feel like you're lost and you're going too many times backward. So we've been going through that adventure right now. And one thing, if any moms are listening, and I know that raising kids can be frustrating and challenging and chaos all at once, and you've got one kid that's quiet and another kid that's not, and two totally different personalities, and they're pulling you in 8 directions and you're going crazy. But I always tried to teach our son, his name is Bruin, and he's an excellent traveler. We've made him travel, and when he was like 7, we would give him the boarding pass and we taught him what's even and what's odd on the airport. All airports are laid out the same way. What's your terminal? What's your gate number? And we would walk behind him and he would always kind of look back, and I said, you are going to drive. Where are we going? And he got nervous at first, but I always try to teach him, Bruin, it's just another adventure. And or hey, it's always an adventure. Like the other day, he slammed his finger. He's 13. He slammed his finger in the car door, and it did actually rip off half of his fingernail. So his fingernail was kind of sticking up like this. And he didn't know it at first. And then he looked down and blood was like dropping off the side of his finger. And then he started saying, "Oh my gosh, that is really hurting." So he walks over to me and I'm like, "Oh, always an adventure."
Right.
And so anyway, I was in a rental car dropping him off at school. I didn't have any of my typical like mom stashed everywhere kind of stuff. So I pulled out my glasses out of my purse. I took the glass cleaner, like the felt,
The rag or whatever.
yeah, whatever that thing was. And I looked at him and I said, "Okay, are you ready for this adventure? Because this is going to hurt." It was bleeding, it wouldn't stop bleeding, so we obviously had to put pressure on it. Well, his fingernail's sticking up like this, so I have to push the fingernail down, and then he's got to hold it to get into the nurse in school. So anyway, I kind of wrapped the cleaner rag thing on it, and then I said, "Okay, I need you to take a deep breath." And I wrapped it and twisted it again, and then I pushed his fingernail down. He was like, and then I said, "All right, clamp it real tight and go to the nurse." So he's just everything. Games losing, games winning, challenges at school. He doesn't like certain subjects and that's hard for him, and he doesn't like to put in the effort, but we push him. Tutoring and Bruin, it's repetitiveness. And so I think for all those busy, crazy moms is make light of it. And because one thing I realized too, and especially going through the seizures, but life is so short and it can be taken at any time. And I try to remind myself every time my husband leaves, I always try to say, "I love you," when he goes out the door. Same thing with Bruin. I always try to say that because who knows? That could be the last time that we ever see each other. I don't know what the future is. And so I always try to teach Bruin everything. Life is an adventure. Everything is an adventure. So he's heard me say that for 7 years or so, something like that. I don't know, it's always an adventure. Every bump or bruise he's ever gotten, he's crashed his bike, he's walked into doors. I mean, you name it, that kid's done it. He's tripped on his own nothing on the floor and hit his head and all kinds of stuff. But I think that's probably the best advice. There's no checklist. There's no magic, do this, then this, then this, then this. And I'm a checklist girl, trust me, but don't make it harder than it needs to be. Set goals, write them down. Get out of your own way. That's a choice. So you need to just make the choice now. Do it or don't do it. But whatever it is, don't complain about it. It was your choice. Are you going to be an ally or are you going to be an enemy? Choose wisely, and then try to be as positive as possible. And trust me, it is hard sometimes. And it is hard to get out of your own way sometimes. And it is hard to see through the thick of the fog and the black night and try to see this, where's the light at the end of the tunnel when you can't see it. And so that's my guidance going through that struggle. And I tried, the good thing is that you don't have to to reinvent the wheel, but you don't have to have a magic formula that's different for everything that you do. That's one of the things that I have found, is that if you can just build structure, be positive. Obviously, each, like for instance, the biotech company, it's run a very specific way. I can't run it the same way I run my supplement company. There's things that need to be done. However, the foundation is the same. Build the systems, teach the people to duplicate the systems, organize things, be the best leader. I have a certain style. David and I, my husband's styles are two very different styles. But I am definitely an ally. And I definitely try to remain positive. And I actually do like good old fashioned paper and pencil. Now, yes, do I rely on this little magic device too? I voice dictate notes and things like that, but then I oftentimes go back and rewrite things. So I guess I'm a little old fashioned, but there's something about writing down goals.
Well, that makes me think of a point, right? Like when I got sober, right? My sponsor, I had no idea because I've never at the time had ever tried to get sober, right? So at the place I went to, you had to go to meetings, right? And then there was these things called the 12 steps. And I'm telling you, everybody, I'm not trying to push anything, but it kind of goes to what Zoe is saying, because when he said put pen to paper, right? Like you're going to do some writing. I was like, what do you, do you realize that I was not a good student? I didn't take notes, right? And then I get it now though, right? Like how I stay positive, like you said, every day is I put pen to paper, right? So when I wake up, first thing I do is I write 3 things I'm grateful for in my little gratitude journal, right? And then the last thing I do at night is 3 new things. So, right? So because neuroscience has proven that when you do something like that, one, you'll see the world and yourself in a more positive place, but it actually builds new neural pathways, right? So there's a lot to what you're saying is like, but it is hard. People are going, Zoe, you make sounding like get out of your own way so easy, but you have to realize she's done this for a long time. But like David Goggins says, and it stuck with me when I read his book, right? It said, learn to get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Because my whole addiction was about being comfortable and not feeling any of those uncomfortable things I went through, right? And like you said, going through stuff where I go, I don't want to deal with it, so I'm just going to check out. But now, today, like bringing guests like you that talk about, because you're not the only one. And I love when you guys, my guests talk about getting out of your own way and just doing things. Doesn't have to be perfect, right? Like for anything that we do, right? And I learned that the hard way before I started the podcast. My coach and mentor, right, when he heard my excuses 20 million times why I hadn't started, was effing Max, just started. Perfect doesn't mean done. And I'm like, oh, okay, right? So here I am, 192 episodes later with another amazing and special guest teaching us basically the same thing, right? And I'm glad that you said that it doesn't have to be perfect. So if you're listening, everyone, right? Like getting out of your own way doesn't mean like every day you wake up and it's got to be this perfect process of you doing it, right? Sometimes it's, like you said, going through your day, you're going to stumble and go, oh, that's a sign I need to get out of my own way, right? I'm going to step back a minute, reevaluate things, right? And as and I love that story you tell about your son, right? Because I've gone through so many of those lessons, right? Like when wrestling, this little pinky right here, right? It broke and it was like right here. And the coach goes, I'm going to save you money. I'm going to just do what they're going to do anyway, right? And he pulls it and tapes it and he goes, get back in there. I'm like, oh, right. I didn't even notice the pain, and of course, until I got home and it starts throbbing, right? And then I had a shoulder injury in football, same thing. Coach goes, this is what they're going to do in the emergency room, right? He pulls it, pops it back in place, tapes it up and says, you want to go back in the game? Sure. But those are some of the things that like I hear you saying, right? It was like, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I'm just going to do it anyway, right? Like I love playing football, so I'm not going to let that little injury stop me. Of course, if it was something where I couldn't lift my arm anymore, right? Or something bad, then, I think my mom at the time would have came down like she did at an injury, like came out of the stands to check on her baby. I'm like, is my boy okay? I'm like, oh my God, Mom, don't ever do that again, right? Never. I still haven't lived that down 30 plus years later, right?
Hilarious.
But it's in doing life, right? The things that pop up for people. Because I'm sure there's people in the audience and they're going, well, she makes it sound so easy. But you heard her, everybody. Like it's just, you just do it, right? With anything. And it's like being an entrepreneur, right? As I was told when I got into the entrepreneur realm, right? Like, Max, it is not for the faint of heart. You are going to fail and you're going to do it over and over again, but you got to keep going, right? So it's the same thing with life, right? Like, we're not perfect. And I love being a bonus parent too. And I'm a bonus grandparent, like, of 10 grandkids. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
You know what I mean? And I'm glad that you mentioned that back in the beginning too, because I don't, I don't say, hey, it's my stepdaughter or this, or, that's my daughter or that's my grandchild. And, and I love this conversation we're having, because I think people are going to want to understand too, a little bit, like, so once you got the seizures, right, you've gone through so much, like, currently, because you just mentioned it, like, especially when there's two opposites, because my wife and I are two opposites too, right? Like, she's very focused, and when she wants to do something, there is no stopping her, right? And I used to be that way, and I would make a ton of mistakes. So as I grew older, learned that I need to slow down so I can try to see a bigger picture and see where things might happen. But I still do it. But I mean, I don't take forever. Like, while she's finishing something, I'm still trying to figure it out, honey. And she's like, I'm done. Like, I don't even need you anymore. Right. But how, like, as a husband and wife team, right, running a business, right, that's challenge. That can be an adventure in itself, let's say. How do you both navigate that, as you guys continue to, right, grow your business and keep it going so you guys could, live the life you want to live and all that good stuff?
Yeah, everybody take out their pens and papers and grab some popcorn, because it's pretty entertaining. I mean, it's hard. Uh, It's one thing just to say, yeah, it's tough. I mean, we just had a little battle of the minds here over the last couple weeks, several times. We are different, but we are both super grounded on, we must make sacrifices in order to have great success. So we don't argue about that. If I need something and I really need it, he understands that he needs to sacrifice, or that I need to sacrifice. And we don't have any, we drew a pretty deep line in the sand to say, one, we need to have a strong foundation. Two, we need to always be able to communicate. Three, you better have some thick skin, and especially with me, because I'm not interested in doing the sandwich technique. I don't do that stuff very well. My employees know it. Hey, we're going to talk it out. We're going to work on the solution, and then we're going to shake hands and move on. We got work to do. I don't do the whole passive aggressive thing. So he had to learn that about me. He's a gentle giant. He's very diplomatic. He's very loving. He's very much a giver, and he's a horrible receiver. So we have two givers trying to give to each other, and he's a terrible receiver. And I had to break it down for him, because this goes back into working together too, is you have to understand your partner. And there's things that you can change, and there's things that you can't change. And you need to accept some of the things that you can't change. And a lot of that, by the way, men and women, newsflash, is personality. So if you find that you don't particularly like that personality, and you're going to try to change that person's personality, there's going to be a lot of resentment. And there's a lot of hatred for certain things, blame for certain things. So even I sometimes knock my head up against the wall, because for my personality, he is overly diplomatic. For his personality, he's very rational. He's a physician. He deduces problems. He gets to the point, and I'm like, I want the solution. I don't care about what happened yesterday. I don't care about what just happened right now. I want the solution. Let's get to it. And then once we get the solution, I'm like, on to the next. So I'm a little bit more of a grinder, and it took him a little while to adjust to that. When we first started dating, then he adjusted to it. And then when we started working together, he was like, oh, wow, this is on a whole other level.
Right. I love it.
We knock heads. Trust me, this is not some sort of glamorous and I have all of the answers and it's figured out. And sometimes I'll even he'll take a little stab and I'm like, that's a good stab. Go ahead, I'm ready for the next one. Lay it out. What else do you need to say or what else do you need to do? So I'm pretty fiery. But look,
No.
I just I was working in one of our new accounts and they're awesome. And so I didn't even know how it came up, but the staff was talking and they don't know me very well, but I've had lots of interactions now at this point, and I've probably been to the facility 2 or 3 times, but I've been talking to everybody. And one of my, somehow or another, it came up about my employees, and one of the people in charge said, well, I she'd have you in line if you were working for her, trust me, so don't screw anything up. And I'm like, how do people like, how do they already know that? I mean, I'm happy, smiling, nice. And one of the girls was like, I don't know, maybe body cues.
Right.
So I have presence because I'm confident. I want outcomes. I want success. I've made those choices. David has presence in lots of ways. He's very tall and he's very muscular. And when he walks into a room, he has a very large, like, human presence.
Right.
So you put the two of us together, we both understand each other's personalities. By the way, we get on each other's nerves. So don't think that this is some, like, we mapped it all out. It's great. When we drew the line in the sand, we knew it was going to be like this. It is not glamorous. Work does come home with us. There's not enough time in the day. So it's not like we can just check it at the door. We have to remind ourselves to go out on date nights. We look at the clock sometimes and we're like, whoa, it is May. And the last time we went out, it was January. So, there's again, too, I don't know, set reminders in your phone. But I will say this, it is very important not to forget to love each other. And let's say you don't even work together. Let's say you raise kids together, but both people work and they've got children, or one person stays at home and takes care of the family and the other one is the provider in that regard. You can't forget to love each other. And that is something that I promised him when we first got together, was there's a few things you can take to your grave. One, I will never cheat on you. That means I'm a coward. I'm not a coward. So if I don't want to be with you, I'm coming to you to tell you I don't want to be with you. And then I'll go be with somebody else. So I was like, my balls are bigger than a lot of dudes' balls. So I don't.
I love it.
I,
Hey, you know what? My wife's the same way. I tell her every day, I know you got bigger balls than a lot of friends of mine. Even me at times, I tell her, right? And you guys sound similar to ours, right? Our personalities, right? Like, she goes, you're so much better in certain situations where your calmness, just everybody knows to just like chill out. But then I need her, right, where she is not shy. She's not afraid to tell you the truth, even if it hurts your feelings.
Yep.
Because like you, she goes, I'm getting to the solution to this. I'm not going to pussyfoot around, and I'm not going to wait till someone goes, oh my God, I should have did that earlier, right? She's like, I will tell you, right? And which has made me a better husband and a better father and a better man, because I learned, instead of taking it personally, I have chosen to go, wow, this is why we're great together, right? And the same thing she'll tell me. She goes, when I'm all anxietied up and I'm ready to rip someone's head off, right? She just says, I grab your arm, or I just look at you, and it calms me down because I've been in tough situations where a calm demeanor is going to be a lot better than me getting in your face and, whatever, you know what I mean? And
I do. Yep.
but I love it because when you I'm hearing you and I'm going, God, that's my wife, Lisa, right? Like, she's the same way. And I think it's very important what you said, right? And that is, we understand because we love each other, right?
Mhm.
No matter what, right? We're going to accept each other for our faults. We're going to, for all the good things, for all the bad things. But at the end of the day, right, in our long grind, we're going to, go to bed loving each other, because that's why we're together, right? And that's, I think, important in life with anything, right? At the end of the day, if you know that, like you do, at the end of the day, if you've done your best, I know Zoe's happy, right? I could see it on your face, right? But you're also that, I know the type, like, if you didn't give your best, you're going to be the one that looks in the mirror and goes, yeah, you need to do better. Like, right. And we all need that. We all need to be, not our own worst critic, but our best coach, our best ally. Like you said, I love that, right? There's a difference, right? Being an ally rather than the critic, right? Because the critic can, like, well, and I know you've run into it. I have in my life where that critic over just runs everything, and then it's poor me all the time. And you're like, well, I have to go home now because I don't know if I could sit here and listen to this. But I've done that with myself, so I know. And almost 22 years of being sober, it's been one day at a time of constantly working on getting rid of that part and being an ally and knowing that I give my best every day. So, right.
By the way, congratulations. That is a big, it's, I know obviously it was a place that you never should have been, right? But getting out of the place that you never should have been is a huge accomplishment. So I don't know what that feels like, but I commend you, because I do have some people around me that were addicts in varying different pleasures.
Right.
But I love seeing them get out of that. It's such a huge, I don't know, I warms my heart in more ways than I can say. So I grew up in a military town. I grew up with a lot of Navy SEALs. I've seen what those guys come back and how there are certain things that they choose to cope. Not all of them, but there are plenty of them. And I love seeing it when people get cleaned up, as you will. I have an exceptional, very special, near and dear friend to me, and she's 40 years sober, 35, 40 years sober, something like that. And I love listening. I love listening. I love listening to the crazy stories. And I think it's amazing that she still can tap into that past to help people relate to those challenges without it having PTSD or anything like that. But she's amazing. She still, even though she travels a bunch, she'll find local chapters for AA and she'll go, and she's very faithful. She's sometimes when I am very faithful too, but sometimes when I lose my godly nature, I always think, for whatever reason, I always think of her, because that is something that she has put in her life, and it is a stronghold. And so I remember when she gave me a book, and it's a book that I reference every so often. I just pull it off the shelf, and doesn't matter which, I just open it and read a page or two, and it's great. So, but I think, and some people don't believe in God, and that's fine, but you need to find something that is bigger than yourself. There are plenty of those things out there, and you need to find it, and you need to research it, and you need to cling on to it, and you need to believe in it, whatever that is. For me and for David, it's God and this beautiful universe that we have. And we're very fortunate. We live on the ocean. So sometimes we're able to just walk out on the balcony and just look up and think, wow, my problems are so small.
Right.
Look at this beautiful world that we live in, and look at how fortunate we are to be here, and look at how, and I am very blessed and very fortunate. I am very worldly. So I've traveled to lots of different countries, and I've seen how lots of different cultures live. So in that in itself, I can look out into the world and know that I'm blessed and grateful. Do I have everything that I want as far as my goals? No. And have I had adventures to the challenges to get through? Absolutely. I'm still going through all of them. And like I said, the company that we run, it has a lot of moving parts. But when you work in the medical field, medicine doesn't move as fast as you want. Technology does. And that's great. We have technology, but now I have to implement the technology into the medical field and apply it. And I don't mean like a piece of software that you're just plugging into the wall or updating the IT system. I don't mean that kind of technology. I mean something that truly affects patient care and makes something. So for us, it's a technology that makes stem cells, and it optimizes and concentrates and measures them and creates a dose. And that doesn't exist. Our company is the only commercialized company that does that. And I'm very fortunate. We've been able to grow and build, and it's starting to gain steam. But David was too far ahead of his time, and medicine is already slow. So then you put someone who's too ahead of his time into something that's slow, and it's like, ah. So, but it's working and it's just taken a long time. And so trust me, there are days where we both can't get out of our own way. And that's bad when you work together, because
Right.
there's always got to be that something that you can rely on. So we both go to the gym. We both use that as an outlet. So that's my other thing too, is I had said earlier, find something that makes you happy. Hopefully it's not addictive in a bad way, but think of like memories or even dancing. If you love to dance, just get up in the middle of the day and, stretch your legs and just kind of do a dance. And I do love to dance, so that's why I made that reference. But it life is so short. Don't you want to live a positive life instead of a negative one because it's so short? Don't you feel better when you laugh or when you spend that meaningful time with somebody? Doesn't that feel good? And I've never related to the girl drama and, negativeness and do you have daughters? What do you have? Boys, girls? What's in your life?
Oh, both. So I have two
Ages.
daughters. My wife has two girls, and I have two girls, and then the rest are boys.
You have 4 females outside of your wife, children?
Outside of my wife, yeah. And then it's almost all the grandkids are
Are
female,
girls?
are girls, except we have 3 boys.
Oh my goodness. Well, girls can be catty, and I've never really gotten along very well with girls because I'm more dude-like. I have brothers, and I flew planes, and I rode motorcycles, and I shot guns, and most of my friends growing up, and I played sports with the boys,
Mhm.
and I could catch and throw a football, and I could run faster than half of them. So I fit in better with men because, like what I just said, is look, let's just get out of it. Like, just needs to be no nonsense. And David always tries to remind me. So the outcome you want isn't being challenged. What's being challenged is the way that you perhaps deliver the message to get the outcome. And of course, I'm like, oh, great. So now I have to be all sensitive to deliver a message to get an outcome, when can we just, it's the same thing.
I know.
It's literally the same parts and pieces. I just have to package them differently. Why do I even need to package them? Can't I just say what I need to say? And then, of course, now, like I said, Mr. Diplomat trying to change. I don't even know how to describe me, but it's not a diplomat. I'm a negotiator. I'm a really good negotiator, but I'm not a very good diplomat. So it's like I said, an ally. Think about all the positive words. Like an enemy. Okay, what's the opposite of an enemy? Ally. Okay, ally can help you build things, can help support you, can help with ideas, things like that. So you just sort of have to build this. And I have to, by the way, this is really good and therapeutic for me, because right now what we're doing is really hard. And we have gotten in each other's way. So, and that's even harder, I think, because he's a big dude physically. It's kind of hard to move him, but it's hard to move someone else. I personally think it's a lot easier for me to move my own self, but other people think, oh no, it's easier for me to help others and do other things for other people and all of that. But one thing I remember, I remember hearing my mom talk about, the kids are gone and dad and I are older now, and now it's time to focus on me. So for all the moms and grandmas too, but for all the moms that are listening, I have to say something that's pretty hard being a woman, but it's like flying an airplane. If you don't put your mask on first, you're not very useful to anybody else. And I have worked in, especially in direct sales, and especially being in the industry that I was in, I've worked with a lot of women and had them on my teams. So I always try to remind people that in the journey of life and in growing and raising your children and having great influence, you can't forget about yourself. You can't let 10, 15, 20, 30 pounds gain because of all the other kids' activities and the thises and the that's, and you're running all over the place. Okay, well, what example did you just set? That it's okay to let you be less than all of the other things? That's not okay, Because what happens if and when 10 years of you not taking care of yourself, but trying to take care of your kids and trying to be the best example? My dad and my mom always said this: if you want your kids to make the bed, you need to always make your bed. So 10, and I, especially my husband being in orthopedics, I can't tell you how, and weight is a big deal on the body. It just is. It puts a lot of pressure on the joints wear down. And so it's one of those things that's near and dear to me, is that he treats patients' knees all day long and their hips all day long. And they need to lose 30 pounds, 40 pounds. And that probably would make their knees feel better to begin with. So I think about it and I think, God, think 10 years down the road. Do you really want to then work 10 times as hard to undo the habits and the things that happen over that 10 years? A lot of ladies like me when I tell them that, because now I'm saying, no, 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 your kids don't come first. And no one really likes to hear that. But yes, you do come first.
I think it's important that you say that.
Yeah. I also, don't forget, your husband comes first. And that is something that I have always truly believed in. I had wonderful, exceptional parents, but something they also taught me was that mom and dad have roles, and they defined their roles, they agreed upon their roles, and they had structure. And so I don't ever want women or men, don't forget about your partner. You have to love your partner. Because, by the way, without your partner, you're not able to make children. So it's just one of those things where you come first, and your partner and your family, but don't make it the opposite. And like I said, I'm thank you for recognizing it's hard to tell women, because moms are invested. They're the emotional, they're the heart, they're the connection. Typically women are they're the lovers and the givers and the mama bears, right? You do all the cooking and the cleaning and the wiping of the tushies and the dressing and the buying of the this and the shopping and all that kind of stuff. Trust me, that doesn't mean that men can't help and don't contribute to those things. It just is pretty standard. But dang, you come first. And I wish more women and then couples would truly agree and make that the foundation, like truly, because it sets such exceptional examples. Right. And I'm grateful because my husband shows me he loves me in any way that he can. And I try to do the same, even if it's just a simple, I'm on the far side of the couch and he's on the other side of the couch, and I scooch over and sit right next to him and hold his hand. Even if it's just for a minute or so, I want him to know that I'm there and that I'm next to him and I love him. And we do the exact same thing in business too. I tell him all the time, you're the most resilient man that I know. You've gotten knocked down more times than most people have in their lives in a 10-year period. And every single time you've gotten back up. And I stand behind you. And I proudly say that as a woman, that I don't stand next to him and I don't stand in front of him. I stand behind him. And trust me, I'm a really good ass kicker. So if he's not behaving, I kick him in the ass, and he knows that too. So, but I do, I'm very proud to be a woman. I'm very proud to take care of myself. And I'm very, very, very fortunate and proud to be able to be my husband's partner and take care of him as well, and build a family and try to be the best example that I can. And I'm, like I said earlier, thank you. I'm honored to have come on your podcast, but maybe that's partly why I had seizures, is because it gives me something bigger to talk about. It's not just, I failed at work or whatever. Yeah, it's a pretty big deal, because I can then share.
I think it's important that you say that. And I think that goes for everybody though. Like putting yourself first in an unselfish way, right, is very, because if you're taking care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, you're not being selfish, because then you can give more to your partner or your children or grandchildren. Because as you know, like you see it all the time, I see it all the time, right? Mom's so worn out because she's given so much of herself, or dad has. At the end of the day, like, where's dad? Oh, he's on the couch. He doesn't want to be bothered, or you know what I mean? Like, leave him alone. And that's, unfortunate. But I think that analogy. I've said, if you go back to a bunch of my podcasts and you hear, I always say that, right? It's like that whole airplane oxygen analogy. If you don't put
Yep.
the mask on yourself first, you're definitely not going to help the guy next to you or the lady next to you or the child next to you, because you're going to go down.
Yep.
And it's a hard thing. And sometimes I like to do I'm the opposite, right? Where I want to give. But I've realized as I've grown in my recovery, right, and as a man, is that it's okay for me to take care of me first, right? And pull back and go, I got to do this for me first before I'm helpful to anybody, because like you said, that can create resentment and anger and frustration, right? And I don't want to project that on anybody else, because what if I know if I did my part and I worked on me first, then I'm okay. But if I knew I was giving out, to everybody else first, and then I have nothing left for myself, then whose fault is it? It's the guy's fault that I'm seeing in the mirror, right? It's your fault.
Yeah.
But
Just
go
I
ahead.
guess take to heart and remember, what kind of example do you want to be? And I guess everybody's definition of what's a good example is a little different, but I make my bed every day, and my kid's supposed to make his bed every day. And I've told him, I said, unless it's sheet cleaning day, which is not every day, they're a rock star. You get to make your bed every single day. No one's doing sheet laundry every day, so that's not an excuse to leave your bed unmade. But I told him, you'll never see my toilet clean. You'll never see my bathroom dirty. You'll never see my shower dirty unless I look down and I'm like, oh my gosh, it is definitely time to clean it.
Right.
You'll never see my bed not made. My closet is color coordinated, and it is put into what's work and what's not work. And the hangers are coordinated as well. So I might be a little OCD, but the point is, to him, I said, clothes don't belong on the floor. You need to have some level of structure and organization. Oh my God, talk about beat my head on a brick wall.
Well, that's the military in us, right? Like, I fold clothes still like I was taught in boot camp. Put it that way. Like,
Oh my God. Yeah.
you give me
Yep.
a drawer and I'll have enough room because I know how to fold stuff to make room.
Same. I fold and then fold in half, and all of our t-shirts are stacked so that you can see it, rather than like
Yep.
stacked vertically rather than on top of each other horizontally, because otherwise, I don't know what t-shirt's on the bottom of the pile. Then you got to pull the whole pile out and it's messy. But an ally, positivity. How do you want to be? And it's not about caring about what others think. It's truly about there's a level of projection and there's a level of confidence that once you make that choice and you just get out of your own way, that's contagious.
Right.
And
That's why there's something to what that Navy SEAL, the Admiral, and that talk he gives that's so popular. You know what I mean? About making because then when you
yep,
make your bed, you have accomplished the first goal of the day. Right.
easiest thing.
Right.
It was so easy.
Oh, yeah. And to let you know, I still make a bed like I did in boot camp. You could bounce a quarter off my bed. The 45 corners and,
I tuck it. Oh yeah, I tuck it, fold it like a present and tuck it on the side. My husband's like, oh, I'm gonna untuck it anyway. It's like I'm in there like a burrito.
and I'm the same way. I tell my wife, get up. Why? I got to make the bed. It's time to get our day going. Right.
Yep.
And I can't focus if I don't make my bed, but I love that. Right. And, I mean, we could be here. We're having a great conversation. We could be here for hours, because I wanted to touch on like your not only what you and your husband are doing with stem cells, right? Because I think that's important, right? Because there's so many things that you can do with stem cell growth.
Yep.
And right. And then I heard you talk about your supplementation company or supplement company. We didn't even touch that, right? So we're going to have to bring you and your husband back, and you're going to have to come back together, and we talk about your companies and how you help others with those companies. But I want to get into the questions that I love to ask. So like Fearless, right? Like you already seen people, she's not, she doesn't fear, at least she's not showing us, but she's about get her done. Like, I love it. Get her done. So Fearless is the first question I want to ask you is, what does Fearless look like to you, Zoe? And how does that show up in your life on a daily basis?
I like I said earlier, I don't overcomplicate things. And so I don't want to make this difficult, but truly for me, you got to do. not doing is something I fear because I, fear of missing out or not making good choices. I I don't want to ever regret anything and look back and said I should have done that. So for me, fearless means, like you said, with your podcast, why haven't you started it yet? You just need to do it. So stop the excuses and get out of your own way and just do the hard things first, by the way, not the easy things.
I love it. I love it. Next question then, right? Happiness. And as you see, I put a Y in happiness, and I did that for a reason. So what does happiness mean to you, and how does that show up in your life? And what does that look like in your life on a daily basis?
Oh, gosh, that's a good one because like I said, I'm battling through some things right now anyway. So this is good. This is therapy for me. But I have always, always, always wanted to be positive. I've seen negative people and I've been around negative people, and it's toxic. So I get those people out of my life as quick as possible. And uh, dancing, smiling, giving my husband a big smooch on the side of the face, like just little things like that that just make you smile. And those are the things that are lasting. It's easy to say I love you. It's easy to give a kiss. It's easy to hold hands. And guess what? It's really cheap.
Right.
And it makes you feel so good. It's free.
Right.
It's free. And so those are the things that are important to me and my family, is making sure they know that I love them, and that makes me happy. And I am a giver, so that makes me happy. And then just doing the little things that, like notes. I'm a good little note writer. So every once in a while I'll stick a note in my husband's book, or I'll stick a note in his bag, or I'll roll up a note and put it in the holder of the key. And that makes me happy. It makes me feel good. So just little things like that. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. And those are things that anybody can do.
I love it. That's amazing. And like I said, this has been an amazing time, Zoe. Saying I knew this was going to be an awesome conversation. We're
Oh,
having so much fun, and I know I could go easily for another couple hours easily. Um, but I want to ask you, if my audience wants to get a hold of you, if they want to ask you questions, right, about just do it, or right, not making excuses, and just they just want to get a hold of you and ask you questions. How does my audience get a hold of you?
yeah. Uh, Easiest way is just follow me on social media. I'm pretty big on Instagram. I love to post inspiration and share things. It's just my name. It's Zoe, Zoe Karli, Karli. And my husband actually is David Karli, same spelling except for David. And he's on Instagram as well. We do a lot of fun stuff together. But that's easiest. You can always send me a message. And then that's the best way.
Awesome. I love it. You heard that, everybody. But again, like I said, Zoe, this has been an amazing time. I mean, totally heartfelt. I loved your energy. You remind me of somebody very much, right? We just had a great conversation, but you're not quite off the hook just yet. I get to ask you my favorite question I ask of all my guests, and it goes like this. So, Zoe, what is the one piece of advice you could give my audience to help them grow as human beings and become better people?
Well, if I haven't said it enough, I'm going to say it again. And truly that is get out of your own. Usually I would use a cuss word there, but get out of your own way. I mean, little things, big things, it doesn't matter. Truly, that's worked for me. It is reliable and you can apply it to anything. So as simple as you don't want to do your homework for your kids, and oh my gosh, I have this huge challenge at work. Okay, well, yes, you do. Next step, get to the solution, get to the bottom of it. Do you need help? Have you organized things? Do you actually see and know what the problem is? And so my other thing I think as a person is stop making things harder than they are. That comes from excuses. That comes from not learning and not asking questions and not being curious. And so it's easy to make an excuse.
Love it. You heard that, everybody. She's to the point. She don't play around. Man, like I said, thank you, Zoe, for being here. What an honor it was to have you here. So you heard her, everybody. If Zoe made you think, if Zoe taught you something, if she made you laugh, and my famous, if Zoe made you go, I like that, please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star review so more people could find the podcast. And again, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this world. This is Max from the Fearless Happiness Podcast. Until next time.
Are you tired of being weighed down by life's traumas and struggles? Join the Fearless Happiness lifestyle and let us guide you toward a brighter future. Explore our past podcast episodes and get a copy of the Fearless Happiness book to ignite your inner strength. If you or someone you love is battling addiction or facing challenges related to unresolved trauma, know that we are here for you. Visit maxnijst.org, maxnijst.org, and take the first steps toward finding your fearless happiness. Thank you for listening. This has been a production of Fearless Happiness.